Since I can remember, I've always been the most avid reader. To this day, I still remember the very first word I ever read. I had just started primary school, was at the dinner table, my parents were casually chatting, and I was reading the Italian version of Mickey Mouse. Topolino. By reading, I obviously mean intently looking at every single picture, trying to figure out what the story was about. I remember turning a page and suddenly these 5 letters jump out of the page in the form of an actual word. Like an actual word that meant something to my 5-year-old self. I couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe my eyes. So I jumped up and I yelled it, "Pesci! Pesci!" And after a second of silence, my parents finally caught up to what had just happened, to the miracle that had just occurred at the dinner table. Their little, adorable genius of a daughter had just read her first word. What followed were cheers and hugs and kisses. To this day, I believe that joyful reaction my parents had is the very reason why I became so obsessed with reading. There's many books that literally have changed my life. And I can honestly say that without some of these books, I would be a different person. There's hundreds of books that I loved, and one of the most difficult questions is, what's your favorite book? I always ask that question kind of to test the person I have in front of me. And you know a reader when they say, I can't just pick one. So in today's video, I want to answer one question. And the question is, why do you read fiction? And the answer to this is that fiction teaches me so much about life. And to prove this point, I'm going to present to you 4 fictional books that have taught me life lessons. So let's get started. The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, by J.R.R. Tolkien. Who's Tolkien? This guy was simply a genius. He wrote multiple books describing this complex world in a very detailed way. It was published in 1937. I read it when I was 11 or 12. And I've since read it 3 times, twice in Italian and once in English. The book follows the adventures of Bilbo Baggins, a very conservative, quite close-minded little hobbit who lives in the enchanting county of Hobbiton, who has never stepped out of his hometown, doesn't like any type of risk, and tricked by a wizard called Gandalf, he is forced to set on an incredible adventure with 13 dwarves and travel all across Middle-earth to reclaim the Lonely Mountain from a dragon called Smaug, who had ripped it away from the dwarvish kingdom. What I love the most about this book is the incredible journey that Bilbo experiences, not only in the outside world, but the inward journey. He goes from being this conservative, close-minded little fella that never takes risks to becoming this incredible, heroic, wise, badass that was key to the success of this quest. What it taught me as a young girl was just do it. Whatever it is, just face it. It might be scary, it might feel uncomfortable, but there's an entire world waiting for you outside of your comfort zone. Everybody and their mother knows what Harry Potter is about. For whoever else has been living on another planet, I'll tell you that Harry Potter is about an orphan boy who at 11 years old finds out that he's a wizard, is sent to a wizarding school for 7 years. There's 1 book per year of school. One thing I must say, J.K. Rowling is a genius. I am serious about this. She is as much of a genius as Tolkien was, and I'll tell you why. With her books, she created a magical world that every single person that read the books was secretly hoping that it were actually true. That the only thing separating us from the wizarding world was a door that could be found if only you looked in the right places. All the characters are super compelling. The story is so complicated and entangled, yet all the questions get an answer by the end of the series. What I say every time I try to explain to people why I'm a Potterhead is that Rowling understood something that was crucial to her success, and that is that her readership was growing up with Harry. The first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, is essentially a children's book. The language is very simple, and even though there's some themes that are quite heavy, like the struggle of growing up without parents, in an environment that you don't feel like you belong. They're still put in a way that a 7 or 8-year-old can still understand. But as Harry gets older, the themes and the characters get progressively more complex and layered, to an extent that only an older reader could fully understand. What did it teach me? It taught me so many things. There's 7 books and they get progressively thicker, but something that I can say for sure is that it reinforced my moral code. It taught me so much about people's psychology. It encouraged me not to judge people by their cover. That most times, people that we classify as cruel or angry are just a result of their painful past. As a society, we're very quick to judge. I believe there should be a lot more room for compassion and trying to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And with reading, that's what you do. And Harry is sometimes quick to judge, but learns to see the beauty in other people. And so as a consequence, it really taught me to try really hard to see beauty in everyone, even the less likely people. And it pretty much made me who I am. And these, in many, many words, are the lessons that I learned from Harry Potter.
The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller.
When I sat down to write what this book was about, I couldn't really remember what the plot was about in detail. What I could remember clearly, though, was the intensity of emotions I felt while reading it. The book is a reinterpretation of the story of the great hero Achilles and his dear friend and companion Patroclus. What's interesting about the book is that the story is told from Patroclus' point of view. Many Greco-Roman classicists kind of interpreted their relationship as a romantic and intimate one, even though it's never stated clearly. But this book goes with that interpretation. I felt so deeply in love as the 2 characters were falling in love. I felt powerless in front of the continuous feeling that it wasn't gonna work out. And I don't want to give anything away, but Greek mythology and tragedy are known for many things. But happy endings? Not one of them. But you grow so fond of the characters and the story that a tiny little flame of hope stays alive until the very last page. What this book taught me is that love is love, and it has nothing to do with gender. Don't you think that the purest form of love is a love that would exist regardless of the body that it's inhabited by the soul of your beloved? And I mean, I've always known that in theory, but with this book, I got to experience it. And this is what I love about fictional books. I can't stress this enough. You get to live in someone else's shoes.
Chantaram by Gregory David Roberts.
Oh my, what a story, guys. The author took inspiration from his own incredible life to tell the story of a guy who escapes a maximum security prison in Australia and finds his way to India, where he joins the criminal underbelly of Mumbai. That on its own is already like, that could be a book. But the story starts when he lands in India and meets the first character that will completely change his life. The book is 900 pages, so I won't go in the super complex plot. But what I loved about this book is that it touches so many different themes. From friendship to love to ethics and morals, loyalty, corruption, justice, universal suffering, death, and many, many more. The book is an enchanting journey into the heart of India. Incredibly poetic reflections, intensely spiritual and philosophical dialogues, deeply touching moments, and so much pain, guys. But so much beauty as well. Sometimes I feel like the two couldn't exist without the other. Among the many lessons that this book left me with, the major one was probably that good-hearted, wise human beings can still sometimes commit horrible acts. Because men are not inherently good or inherently bad. Rather, it's their actions that have goodness or badness in them. It's easy to look at someone's one mistake and discount their whole life. That's laziness. As a society, our responsibility is to look at someone as a human being who made a mistake, who has to be punished for it, but who then has to be assisted in their recovery as much as their victims. Because justice is not made until everyone is in a better place than they used to be. And there's this beautiful quote in Chantaram that goes like this: "Justice is a judgment that is both fair and forgiving. Justice is not done until everyone is satisfied, even those who offend us and must be punished by us. Justice is not only the way we punish those who do wrong, it is also the way we try to save them." This book was my very first solo trip to India. And obviously India is so much more than reading Chantaram, but if anything, it made me want to go see for myself. Thank you so much, guys. We made it. I'm sure it's going to be a long ass video, but I am very passionate about these books and I hope that I've inspired you to pick up one or two of them. And trust me, it's a decision you won't regret. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, goodbye.
Oh, and don't forget to let me know down in the comments some of your favorite books that have taught you life lessons. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out some of my other ones. Choice, choice, choice.